So Pikmin 4 was finally announced in the latest Nintendo Direct, and I couldn't be more excited. Pikmin is one of my most treasured series of all time, and seeing it come back with another installment is surreal to see. I have been playing Pikmin for more than a decade, and I even almost have all of the games too. The only one I'm missing is Pikmin 2 on the Wii because, well, I didn't really see a need for it. Seriously, I even bought Hey Pikmin. Point is that finally, after a decade of no mainline games, we finally have Pikmin 4. And I'm really excited about the game. And I wanted to review the trailer because it has some interesting things that we haven't seen in other Pikmin games, as well as just talk about the series because I'm really fond of it and I think it would be a good video as well. But enough of me being awkward in front of a green screen, let's get into the video. If you haven't played Pikmin, here's the rundown. A captain, usually Olimar, crashes onto a strange yet familiar planet and needs to obtain items or ship parts from that planet to go back home. He ends up meeting and teaming up with the Pikmin to obtain said items. In exchange, Olimar helps the Pikmin become stronger so they can fight on their own. After all is said and done, the captain goes back home.
That's all, folks.
I may have skipped a few details here and there, but that's basically the premise of all three games. Micromanagement is key to do all the tasks necessary to survive. Now that you are all caught up, let's look at the trailer. If you have played any sort of Pikmin game, you will immediately notice something different from all other installments. That being the backyard that this new game seems to take place in. While there has been human elements in other games, nothing compares to this level of construct. This could either mean that there are still humans on this planet, or that whatever happened to them happened recently. Later in the trailer, we also see a very shiny clock hanging from a nail. This seems to suggest that unlike Pikmin 3, we won't be looking for fruits this time, once again returning to the Pikmin roots with looking for treasure instead. This could also suggest that winged Pikmin are back, because they are the only Pikmin who could be able to retrieve such treasure. That is, unless of course there is a new Pikmin we don't know about. Speaking of Pikmin we don't know about, it is tradition for all games to have at least 2 new types of Pikmin. Pikmin 2 had purple and white Pikmin, Pikmin 3 had winged and rock Pikmin. There was also Bulbmin in Pikmin 2, but they weren't added in Pikmin 3 for whatever reason, even though the model was present. This could mean that Bulbmin might be added to Pikmin 4, since a lot of the assets from Pikmin 3 were used to make Pikmin 4. We know this because of the butterfly, bulborbs, and plants that were shown in the trailer. In any case, there should be 2 new types of Pikmin. And while I'd like to suggest some new ideas for Pikmin that could potentially retrieve that clock from that nail, I have no idea. Before Pikmin 3, we all assumed the Pikmin's abilities were identified by its color. But no, Pikmin 3 just decided to make winged and rock Pikmin instead of pink and grey/black. A lot of people suggest that the new Pikmin could be green or orange. I don't know what they would do, but they are certainly colors that would match the Pikmin style. But the 2 new Pikmins could also be identified by something else, not their color, making it difficult to pinpoint what these new Pikmin could be. Another feature people seem to dismiss are that Pikmin have features besides their color, like red has a nose, yellow has ears, blue has gills, or I like to call it a mouth, white has red eyes, the purple have hairs on top of their head, the winged ones or pink ones have wings, and the rock Pikmins are just, well, rock Pikmin. Bulbmins are bulborbs. So if there is new colors of Pikmin, they will surely have new features that will also help us tell them apart. Something also shown in the Nintendo Direct was a last image of the captain with all 3 original Pikmins, which is the first time we've ever seen the captain in the first area, at least I assume it's the first area, with all 3 Pikmin. So this could mean that either we have them 3 already unlocked from the beginning, or we will unlock them very early on in the game. Usually in Pikmin, you always start with the red Pikmin. The only exception to that is Pikmin 3, where at the beginning of the story you start with yellow. But after that first day, you will go back to using red Pikmin. Maybe this means that like Pikmin 2 and Pikmin 3, we will start off with Pikmin away from their onion. Except this time we have 3 different types instead of just 1. Another defining feature of the Pikmin is their flower. Interestingly enough, the flower used for the 4 in the trailer is the same color as the ones used for Pikmin Bloom, and we've seen Pikmin with those colors. However, in the main games, red, yellow, and blue Pikmin always have a white flower. so I doubt this is a Pikmin Bloom situation where all Pikmins can grow different colors of flower. This doesn't mean either that the new Pikmin will have yellow flowers, because in Pikmin 3, the colors in the number 3 were not the same color of flower as the 2 new Pikmins for that game had. The number 3 had orange flowers, while the Pikmin themselves actually had purple. Basically, we don't know what this game has in store, but I have a sneaking suspicion it's gonna be related to Pikmin Bloom. Another thing they could do is have the captain be you, be a me. This could be a story about how you helped the Pikmin survive, and they helped you go back to your planet. Seeing as we do have a picture of the captain, I don't think that's the case. However, it is a possibility. Since we are looking for treasure as well, I think our main protagonist will be a Hakutation, or however you say it. Basically not someone from Kopai. Speaking of the captain, Miyamoto does mention as well that in this new game, we will be able to see from the perspective of the Pikmin. While I didn't know what that meant when I saw the trailer, I think I do now. Usually Pikmin goes from a top-down angle, where you see the captain and the Pikmin. But in this game, maybe you could be able to see it from the Pikmin's angle, from the floor instead of from above. We also hear a little jingle when the name pops up. This could mean the captain's whistle has more uses like in Pikmin 1 and Pikmin 2. Besides everything mentioned that could potentially link this game to Pikmin Bloom, the letters themselves are also in the same color as Pikmin Bloom, just a green font instead of the usual Pikmin flower outline. And that's about it. Until the next trailer, which shows us gameplay, that's all we were shown in this Nintendo Direct. I have high hopes for the next game. I think it's gonna be really fun. This one might be a little bit more open world, seeing how the layout of the backyard is. Maybe this will be like a central hub of sorts, where all the onions will always be, and you will have to go further and further away from the actual area. Instead of going away from the planet and going down to a next area, you will always be in this playground and just have to unlock different areas with different Pikmin and look for treasure. And I think it's in a good step. While I liked Pikmin 3, I really miss the style of Pikmin 1 and 2. Pikmin 2 specifically, because I actually really liked the cave sections. A lot of people think they overstayed their welcome, or they were like kinda bad, but for me I think it did it well. The actual randomizer aspect to it and being able to actually use Pikmin to fight instead of solve some puzzles was really fun. Maybe even caves could come back, but at a lesser degree, so they aren't so like constant in the game, I guess. But yeah, I'm really happy with the trailer, and I really hope that whatever Nintendo has in store does it well. But what do you think of the trailer? Make sure to comment below your ideas. Subscribe if you haven't, and like the video if you enjoyed it. I will see you next time. Bye!